Hello, everyone. I am Marianna, creator of the DAYnamics show and your guide to remind you to align with your own dynamic well-being every day. Today, we're focusing on our unscripted and unpredictable off-the-cuff recording entitled Something to Do with the Gap. With this show, it'll help you plant the seed so you can become more aware around this topic and realize there's no one-size-fits-all path. Choose what serves you and feels right for you along the way. Because it is our off-the-cuff, usually I would set the tone and ask you to focus for this time together and be open and commit to listening to the show and to find your balance on this subject, which I just did in a roundabout way. But we'll start with the question to our listeners. Have you ever heard about this gap? So it's either closing the gap or opening the gap. Have you heard of that? It seems to be spoken about more lately, and it's been around for a while. It's something that I definitely just wanted to talk about in this off the cuff because, again, like always, it's unpredictable, it's unscripted. We're just focusing on something that's up in my awareness right now and feel like it would be of benefit to our listeners. We always usually start when we're talking about something that maybe others don't fully understand, and that is usually with some kind of definition. So closing the gap, opening the gap. Let's just sort of see, when I did the research on what this gap part meant, because I've been using it for a long time, but it's more on the closing the gap side. Let's just start here. The gap refers to the difference between where you are and where you want to be. And where you are is what people call your reality. And where you want to be is usually because you feel like you'll feel better being somewhere else. Now, people can refer to this gap as like a goal. I'm here and I want to be over there. Like it's a goal, something that you work towards. It's just that the verbiage right now is closing the gap, because when you think about from point A to point B, or you think about going from some city to some city, or flying from some city to some city, that's from point A to point B. The closing the gap is going on the journey of it. Now, how that journey unfolds is where you come in on a personal level, because it does have a lot to do with your beliefs, your feelings, your thoughts, your intentions, your choices, your decisions along the way. But before, let's just backtrack on that just a little bit. First of all, you might want to ask yourself, before you do the gap, again, point A, point B, is why do you want what you want? Have you ever asked yourself that question? And we may have already talked about it somewhere in one of our podcasts or in one of our vehicle videos or blogs or any of the resources that we have, is why do you want what you want? I mean, that is a really valid question to ask yourself, the why. Because sometimes it's like, let's just take money for an example. Well, I want to win, or I want to have, or I want to receive, let's just say $1,000, because that's what you need at that moment. Could be less amount, higher amount, but just use this and put your amount in. So why do you want it? It might be to pay a bill or pay someone back or buy something for yourself or for others. So there's always the why there as to why do you want it. Now, one thing I want to say about the whys, if you're doing it for the sake of some form of lack, like you feel you're missing or there's some kind of lack in your life, you don't have what you want to have, or you haven't closed that gap from point A to point B, then you're still going to attract more of that. Law of attraction plays a big part in all of our lives and everything that we do, if you want to be aware enough to understand the law of attraction and how that works. Like attracts like. But if you're doing it for the sake of, this is what you want, and this is what you believe, and this is what you expect, and this is what you know it's going to happen, and you're not having any resistance or anything around it, or bombarding yourself with your own beliefs and feelings and thoughts that it couldn't happen, I don't know how it's going to happen, the worry, the doubt, oh my goodness, how is this going to unfold? If you don't have all of that and you can just trust, that would be amazing. And not trusting anything outside of yourself other than the universe, because the universe, you're a part of it, so it's a part of you. But more about the trust of just knowing, because you've done the why. It's because something is expanding. You're becoming more. It's an evolution. It's not because you're missing something and there's a lack of it. Because again, like attracts like, so it'll just bring you more of what your true feelings are. So you might have to do a little bit of work on that. You might have to clean up your vibe, your energy, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings around what you want, just to make sure that you are in fact doing it from the purity of, again, wanting to have and become more. Like I think of the definition of dynamic, and it's always becoming better, more. Well, that's what part of this closing the gap could be, if that's how you want to look at it. It's you're at where you're at, and that's your reality right now. But that's the past now. And now it's about where do you want to go and where's your point B. So it's not like, oh, okay, well, no sense asking for it because I've tried to ask before and it just doesn't, show up for me. It doesn't manifest for me. It doesn't do anything. Well, that's the past. That's a belief that you need to readdress for yourself. You need to find your balance around that, because you want to have new realities come forward. You want to tell that new story. You want to feel the essence of what it's going to be like. So later on, we'll sort of tell you the process or take-home tools that will help you with that. Okay, so let's go on to things that play a part in your closing of this gap. And we've mentioned a few of them already. Let's talk about, again, law of attraction. Like attracts like. Thoughts and emotions attract similar energy, similar experiences to you. Now, another thing is your emotions. They play a big part because they're your guidance. When you're at point A and you're making your way to point B, sometimes, given your situation and what you want to close the gap on, that could be like a minute thing, that could be a day thing, that could be a month thing, a year thing. So there's no time frame on here other than the ability for you to allow it in. Emotions will play a part, and when you have the positive emotions, it makes you feel like you're in alignment. It makes you feel happy. So that shows you that you're on your way to your closing the gap and on your way to that point B. If you're feeling negative stuff, then that just gives you an indication that it's time to, like I said, clean up the vibes around it, clean up your beliefs, your energies, and just be open to a new understanding and a new experience. Now, I want to say this right now. This is all about you. It's about no one else. So Don't try to manifest for someone. Don't try to close the gap for someone. You can be the example, and then they can ask you, and then you can help them that way. But trying to do something for someone else doesn't always work. And I'm not just talking like the little things. Like, of course, I'll do the laundry for my husband, or I'll help my daughter with something, or whatever it might be. Like, that's just like in the moment stuff. I'm talking about trying to manifest or close the gap for someone else. It is a personal thing. So just focusing on you will ultimately help everyone around you. And you will be an example. And then people will go, wow, how did you do that? Wow, good. Can you share some of that with me? And whether you want to share, that's up to you. So a few other things that play a part is, we talked a little bit about resistance, and it's like you have this resistance sometimes. And again, that is because of your past, of your beliefs, of your feelings, of your thoughts that are around that. It's like a barrier to letting your gap close. And it's more about, again, staying in the knowing and the positive and the trusting of the process. Because I always heard, and I will always believe, it's like when you ask the universe delivers, and then you need to allow it to unfold into your life. So, like I said, trusting the process a little bit, and just believing in that. I mean, just think of the times when you have asked for something and it's shown up. And you're like, I don't know how that happened, but thank you so much. That's the universe having your back and going, hey, yeah, you just allowed it to flow in for you. And the other thing that plays a part is your gratitude and your appreciation, because having gratitude, appreciation for what you presently have, and then the excitement in anticipation and the expectation of what is coming is awesome. And feeling the essence of that, and appreciating it, and appreciating anything that might be like it, or things that have happened before or to other people, and just seeing that, hey, they wanted this, their point A to point B, closing the gap, and they've received it. So appreciation really does lift your energy, lifts your vibes, and it really does help in the manifestation process in your life and closing that gap. Because you want to close a gap, because you, again, the point A to point B is not necessarily a place. It could be a thing. It could be an event, an experience, a journey, whatever it might be. I just say point A to point B because it's the easiest way for me to bring it across. The other thing that may play a part is just being similar to what I just said with that gratitude and appreciation, is just being in alignment and being at peace with what you have and where you are now, and appreciating everything else around it. And then when you appreciate where you are, because you always know, and I always say, the power is in the now. What story do you want to tell now? What peace do you want to have? What do you want to appreciate now? What do you want to be grateful for now? Let that be a thing for you, is appreciation, alignment, trust, following your emotions, telling the new story, having a good vibe. All of the things that are around that, they all play a part. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. An example, all intertwined into one, is when I was younger. I know what I wanted. I wanted to travel and explore and to live in other places, and, and just go out there and have this amazing dynamic life. And I wanted to be somewhere else. And I didn't know where that somewhere else was, until knowing one person that I had met in an exchange trip that just said, if you ever want to come out, then by all means, I will, offer you a place to stay, to help you get you on your feet. just trusted that that's where I was supposed to be. So that's sort of that gap in between where you are and where you want to be. Because where I was fine, but I didn't feel like it was stimulating anything that I really wanted and that I could see and hold the vision for myself around that. You ask, and now this person's giving you this opportunity. So the universe will always have your back, always give you signs. And if it feels right, do it. If it doesn't feel right, don't. It's simple as that. Like we always say that there's not a one-size-fits-all path. Just choose what serves you and feels right for you. But as far as closing the gap, I had to ask myself, why did I want this first? All the things in it there that played a part once I decided. And then I was able to get from point A to B probably within, we graduated, and then I stayed about 6 more months where I lived. And then after that, I was like, okay, it all unfolded and it was time and it was ready to go. So I was able to close that gap and then have been on a journey of life ever since. The process, which is part of our take-home tools, I mean, this is the way I look at it. It might be different. Be aware of your desires and your aspirations. Clarify the why. We sort of went over that. Why do you want it? How do you want to feel with it? Can you envision it? However you want to do that and really feel the essence of it. And then know that you want to go from point A to point B, which is, again, where you are to where you want to be. Because it is a choice first, and why you want to do it, it really does clarify if you do really want to do it. So that's really a good step. And telling someone else about what you want to do, and then see how it feels when you say it out loud, or see how it feels when you write it down, really does help it, because it's out of your mind and your emotional set, and it's on paper or out into the universe by talking to someone else as well. Now, visualize and feel the emotions associated with achieving your goals. And then I always find the word elimination funny, like when someone says just eliminate doubt or negative thoughts. Let's change eliminate to replace, and then focus on your new story. Focus on what feels right, feels the essence of it, feel what the aspects of it that are going to be what you want. And then take that inspired action. Look for the guidance, look for the signs, look for the unexpected. Don't always think logical, and don't always go, okay, I'm looking for a sign. Okay, are you giving me a sign? Is that a sign? Is this a sign? Like you'll know when it's right for you, because the universe will give it to you in so many different ways, and nothing will stop you from doing it. I remember in my story that there was nothing going to stop me from moving from the East Coast to the West Coast and start on this adventure. I just knew everything was lining up. I was aligned. I took that time to really be with it. And I was just like, yes, and yes. And then everything just fell into place perfectly. So I hope that's really given you an opportunity to understand closing the gap as I know it to be. I know that there's whoever talks about it obviously has their own take on it, and perfect. Listen to them all. Listen to everyone that talks about this gap, and then decide which one serves you, or pieces of each one will serve you. So then again, no one-size-fits-all path. Choose what serves you and feels right for you around this. And then send us a message, send us a note to say, hey, this is how I'm closing the gap. This is how I chose to do it. Now, one little point is I do know that we did a podcast and maybe even a blog, and it was called The Known to the Unknown to the Known and the Space in Between. So that is like that gap. When you're where you're at, that's a known. And where you want to be is the unknown. But then once you get to where you want to be, you make it the known again until you want something else. And then you close the gap on that. This is not a one-time thing. Can work for any subject, anything in your life. But again, it's you. It's an inner thing. It's an inside thing. It's not something that you can do for someone else. They will see the benefit. They will get the benefit because your energy is going to shift. And it's fun. It's a journey. If you're impatient, then it's just going to take longer because the universe is like, impatient, that's lack. Okay, give her some more of that. Make her wait longer. Now, what has been shared in this recording today has just reminded you of the importance of aligning with your own dynamic well-being every day. Closing this gap is a daily thing. You're always closing the gap on something, just an FYI. Because, again, what I said earlier is that once you're point A to point B, get to point B, then you want another point A to get to point B. Like, there'll always be more because you're always evolving. You're always becoming. It's an everyday thing, and feeling good along the way will certainly help it manifest faster for you. We know that you're on the path to closing the gap. We're happy to offer some different perspectives along the way. We have lots of great shows coming up and lots of great recordings from the past. So go see what serves you at DAYnamicsshow.info and explore all our other great resources. And I do need to add that all materials are copyrighted and are for informational purposes. So until we meet again, thank you for listening, and make it a dynamic day.